All right, we are all set up, ready to do some test swatches with our colors. We've prepped the palette. The colors you're going to see here are cadmium yellow, opera rose, scarlet lake, burnt umber, alizarin crimson, cobalt turquoise light, my favorite, and my other favorite, Prussian blue. So I've got a round brush here and a filbert brush. And the reason you're seeing a glue stick is because sometimes these plastic palettes, as amazing as they are for travel, because you can just close them up, sometimes the water will bead. So I'm going to rub the glue stick on here and wipe it off, and it should help. So I put the blobs of paint in order of color in the palette. I've spaced it out for mixing purposes, and I let them dry overnight so that they're easier to work with, which is a great hint. So stay tuned, and here we go. So I've just scrubbed the glue stick on every single one of these spots and wiped it down with a paper towel. And now we've got this pristine palette. What's going to happen is it's going to get messy. So what I like to do is, just so I remember the order of my colors, I like to use my Sharpie marker and identify the color in the palette. For example, cadmium yellow, light, etc., etc. I am a southpaw, therefore I drag my hand. That explains the Michael Jackson glove. So the first and most important thing to do is to color swatch your palette so you have record of the colors that you're working with. And I do it in 3 steps. I start with full strength color, and you can do this as neatly or as messy as you like. Oh, what a beautiful, happy color. And then water it down a little. Oh, and by the way, always have 2 jars. One jar is for rinsing your brush. The other is for grabbing water. The belly of the brush holds a lot of water. This is the belly of the brush. And you can control how much paint comes out by the pressure on your brush. Now this got a little bit too much, so I'm going to do my second shade of yellow. You can see we use water to lighten, we don't use white. And now I'm using mostly water, and you can see the lightest shade. So there you go. So I repeat this with all the colors. This is one of my favorite parts to do. So I've got the Scarlet Lake now. Another gorgeous color. Water it down a little bit. And then it's amazing how pink it becomes at its lightest. Oops, don't worry about the little hairs, little bugs. It's fun painting outside, but things happen. Looks like this one needs a little bit more color. I'm dabbing in a little bit more. There we go. That's more of the middle range. This is probably my most used color, opera pink. It tends to be very fluorescent, which will give you wonky scans. So whenever you use opera rose, mix it with a complementary color, like mix a little Scarlet Lake in with it to tone it down a bit. But boy, I love it at its pure state. Then lighten it up as you go. Maybe that was too big a step. Let me dab in a little bit more color here to make it more middle. And you can see why it's good to have your pigment slightly dry. It's easier to work with. You don't end up wasting paint. This is a fun color. This one is the burnt umber. Take a lot. So in its full strength, it's very brown. Very poopy. Oh, look at that. You can see what happens when the colors touch. Magic happens. Now it looks a little more gold. Now, it's a really pretty warm color. Another thing you can do if you want, you can pick up color with your brush, wipe it on the towel, and go back in. Ah, alizarin crimson. Love, love, love this color. I think I got a little too much water. You get used to how much water you want to load on your brush. It becomes intuitive. Ooh, look what a pretty pink in its lightest form. Wow, that's gorgeous. I like to mix Opera Rose and Alizarin, or Opera Rose and Scarlet Lake. We'll check that out later. Now, working from bottom to top of the left side of my palette, the cool colors. Ah, Prussian blue, gorgeous. I love this blue because it makes so many different blues depending on the water content. Just on its own, it's so rich and velvety. Mid-tone. Doesn't that look like a completely different hue? And then very wet. Yum, 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 yum. Now permanent sap green. This is my most used green, and I mix it a lot. I love mixing blue with it to give me a nice cool green, or mixing yellow with it to give it a very olivey color. Let's get a little more water here. Oop, too much, Jenny, too much. I'm gonna lift a little bit. There we go. What's next? Ah, my favorite. Cobalt turquoise light. This is just a delicious color. Well, turquoise is my birthstone. Turquoise and orange are my favorite colors. It's funny that they're complementary colors as well. I think they enhance each other. Oh, I think I went a little too light. There we go. And now, last but not least, you know, you can pretty much paint just about anything with this palette. Sometimes it's easier and less intimidating to start with a simple palette. That's why I've left holes in my palette in case I want to mix some colors or add a few additional colors. But this looks like a pretty thorough palette. Then you get a very nice gray. Here. Oops. Let's pick some of that up. And then once it's dry, you just list what the color is. Well, you don't really have to wait for it to dry. cadmium yellow, Scarlet Lake, Scarlet Lake, Opera, Burnt Umber, Alizarin Crimson, Prussian Blue, Permanent, did I call that the right thing? Permanent Sap Green. My favorite, Cobalt Turquoise Light. As long as you can read your writing, that's all that matters. And then this is Mars Black, which is a very warm black. And then you have your palette, and guess what? If you're smart, you cut it so that it fits right in your palette, so you can close it up and go on. And then take it out and put it to the side for reference.